YouTube, how are we doing? We're back again, So our back day that we didn't do the other day because we were feeling that little bit of soreness. And what we're gonna do is hit that session. So slight different switch up from our last ever back session that we did, back day. So some exercises will be a little switch up from the back session that we previously did. Some exercises will be in there that we've seen before. We got a slight different format with some of our warm-up, and then what we will introduce is a couple of core patterns on today's back session. Just because of the way that the format was, we didn't get all of our core work in during leg day as well. So you'll see a couple of different ab exercises, and I know that some people out there in the bodybuilding spheres don't train abs, but I'm not one of them. I still think I've got a little bit of definition that I can gain from training abs. So that's why we're gonna do it and use ab training to our advantage. So, we have a stormy day, so we're about to drive into a crazy thunderstorm. So I'm going to keep this one a slightly bit shorter than our normal YouTube intros. So make sure you're following along. Make sure you stick around, watch the full back session, because we'll go into some little bit of science-based lifting tips as always during the back day. And what we will do is we'll see you in the gym. So make sure you subscribe beforehand, and I'll see you in there. Alright, we made it to the gym, which the tough thing is I got wet on the walk in. So pretty bad storm, as I mentioned in the car, but we're here. We got drenched, so I'm not sweating already before actually starting the warm-up, but you will notice we had this one before. I'm gonna do it again, but this time actually just stay in the sagittal plane. So today we're just hitting 1 set of 10, nice sagittal plane pull down, a little bit of a lat stretch, shoulder opener, and then we go into some traditional pull downs, which we haven't had, I don't think, as the first exercise yet. Yeah, I wasn't filming, so we just hit 1 feeder set, got a few reps in with wide grip lat pull down. I'll actually go back and probably just edit that a little bit, but starting off, primary lifters, wide grip pull downs, just as a bit of a variation, because a lot of my pull downs have been more the neutral grip, narrow grip, and we've had a bit of, I think, wide grip pull up, but no pull down so far. So just wanted to use that variation and stimulate some of the fibers that I might not be getting in other pull down variations, just because of the different scapular and humerus position. So slight different length tensions, potentially better, potentially worse, up for argument. A lot of people seem to think that that narrow grip is going to be better because of the lengthening aspect of the lat, and some people are going to think that the wide grip is better because of the squeeze. So I'm going to say just do both. That's my honest answer to that. Why mess around doing just one when you can hit both in your program and do it pretty effectively? It makes no sense not to. 2 minutes rest. We'll hit one more set. This seat position is the in-between for me, where I kind of need it just slightly lower. It's kind of annoying. And we do have back offset planned, so we'll hit that, and then we have some seated rows. Nice little variation. So you can drop me your comments whether you prefer wide grip or narrow. I'm still a believer of do both. The one thing that I do find kind of funny is when people are doing like pull downs, but they actually face the opposite way, as if not being anchored into the machine is going to be more beneficial for lat growth. It doesn't alter anything. But I think people think because the cable stacks behind them that they think the line of pull changes, but actually it's still just a vertical front pull down. So if you're doing that, fair play, but you're probably not maximizing your gains because you want to be anchored in to the machine, which means use the knee pads. Use the machine for why it's there. That's the whole point. And because we are doing a back offset, I'm not even bothering to use the straps here. So, I wish I had a spotter for this who could assist on the first pull down, because you gotta use all your weight to get into. That's good for pull downs. Get some machine low rows in. So we got hammer strength, iso lateral row. We are gonna start seated, and then we will basically do some seated rows, and then we'll do some variation of the row too. So typically throw this machine in time to time when I haven't got T-bar row planned. So we got 2 sets here, no grindy reps on these 2 sets. So you notice once I started losing that control, I didn't grind out one last rep. So the 1 repetition in reserve, still standing strong on this one. And I realized I got the wrong lifting strap out halfway through that, when I started hammering my wrist. That's the new one. Where is my old one? There it is. So, cool thing about this machine is we do have ISO, so we can do single side. So what you'll see is once you've hit the second bilateral set, we'll actually go to single arm in a more stagger stance row. And so, again, just a slight tweak variation to what we would do with the other back day that we have,
because I guess we could technically with the T-bar machine do a single arm row, but it's kind of super awkward. So this is a much better option in terms of stability and being able to sit there and get the job done. Little breather, and then we'll flick over to variation, wherever I put my phone with a program. Left side first, left side always first. Alright, so little variation, step back row. Trying to hit that lower lat. We can use low row machines, but I do like the way this one feels, even with the slight less stability, because you have to brace. So this is kind of where we get our unilateral variation in. So we've got bilateral two hands pull down and more of that seated low row, and now we're getting a true low row with the stagger stance. So a little bit more higher rep volume in today's session, end of the week technically. So oh shit. So again, make sure that with the end of the week, we could go intensity, keep the volume nice and low, but I like to front load the intensity in my weeks typically. And so, as you probably noticed with my single-sided training, I typically don't take as much rest as I would with bilateral training, just because that other side wasn't working. So as long as your central nervous system fatigue is gone, you should be good. We got one more. And then honestly, I don't really know what's next in the program. Gonna have to check. That's good. We're into the new exercise pattern. Not had this one in there before. Could potentially find a slightly heavier cable stack, but this is going to serve the purpose for what we need to do today. Oh, get balance. So a little wide, slightly abducted, shrug, changing from neutral grip to then supinated grip. And then we hit 2 sets of these just to get a little bit of that trap work. Again, I feel like sometimes people talk about overdeveloped traps, underdeveloped lats, underdeveloped delts, but if your traps get no love, they're gonna look teeny tiny compared to the rest of your body. So you can. Last week we had the machine shrug, so we could use that again, but this just allows us to get a slightly lean angle, so targeting those fibers in a slight different way instead of just straight up vertical. So that's kind of my thought process behind it. Honestly, traps feel pretty lit up after that, not gonna lie. So one more set. This is more of a accessory block. Let's see what we got next on the program. Pull this one out. And so you notice I did 5 at different positions. Oh, yes. All right. I'm just gonna go over to a different cable stack. So it's science-based lifting time. Just kidding. But I did get a new cuff. So now I have 2 of them, which means we can now do bilateral cuffed exercises at the same time. So shout out Vault Performance for sending me an extra cuff. So now I have 2 of them, which is double the trouble. So we got a rear delt fly. We're gonna be cuffed in for this. I didn't think this one through with strapping it too tight. Whew. Make it slightly looser so I can slip out of the cuff once the exercise is done. So, little custom D-ring cuffs like these will help a lot with the exercises. Now, could I move this further up the elbow, shorten the lever arm? We could, but I actually enjoy the way it feels having to have the elbow in there as well. I am gonna loosen this one off slightly too, get a little further up the forearm. So I'll bring it closer to the elbow. But we don't have to be exactly right there. So you have to let us know in the comments whether you prefer using cuffs or not in your lifts. Personally, I do quite a lot now, and it's not because I'm joining the hype. I just actually prefer the feel of it sometimes. I still do, as you've seen, my exercises with the grip, using D handles and stuff as well. So It's not that I'm fully converted to just cuff exercises. Slightly looser again. Alright. Oh, fell down my wrist. There we go. Whew. All right, takes a little rear delt. We do have one more set. We're actually going to drop the weight and go super high repetition volume. And some people are going to be like, why would you go and drop the weight? What's the point? Muscle fibers, blah, blah, blah. And like, for certain muscles, just exposing them to different stimuli, I think also helps with growth. We've become self-obsessed with optimal, that there's no one scientist that can truly define what optimal is. It's not a singular load, it's not a singular set range, it's not a singular number of reps in a set. So as long as we're not doing something ridiculous where it's 150 reps and the load is like 0.5 pounds, but a moderate submaximal load with higher repetitions will still stimulate growth. And that's the crazy thing about physiology is, again, we know it's mechanical tension, but we also know proximity to failure creates more effective repetitions. And so if we're thinking about that and we're doing a slightly lighter weight, if you were in a gym and you only had 20-pound dumbbells, you can still lift. Eventually you're going to need more weight, but you can still do a session. Close to failure, things like that. Maybe even slightly altering the tempo. Might not be ideal for muscle hypertrophy, but it will get you a little bit of the way. And then over time, again, you're going to have to find ways to progressively overload. So you maybe hold 2 dumbbells, 20-pound dumbbells in the same hand, create a 40-pound dumbbell. But there's a lot of people out there who don't have resources that you might have who are still getting it done. Bodyweight training, all this other stuff. So if you're saying that you can't stimulate growth with lighter weights, you are factually incorrect. That's why we do some higher rep stuff, because we like the burn. All right, so I forgot I did put an extra sneaky weak point in today's session. So we are going to sneak some extra calf raises in as well, in amongst some of our accessory work today. So we're going to hit some standing calf raise, and then we've got some leg raises, some sit-ups or crunches, and then we have some bis and tris. Focusing on weak points. So we got some calf raises. So bring this down slightly. There we go. Perfect. So, just quick little calf raise again. Needs no introduction from where we've been at. We typically prioritize the bottom position. And I will say, I do think they're growing. They're not massive, but I'm going to take some circumferences. Tomorrow's off day. That's going to be our little off day video. And then I'm going to compare it over the course of the training to see if we actually do improve girths. We are scheduled to get a DEXA soon as well, so we'll go from there. Alright, second set. One more set of calf raises. And I guess I got a little bit of residual soreness for the shoulders because this pad is definitely beating them up right now, which again is fine. But let's see what we got. Last set. Past failure partials. Oh. Alright, let's get some core done. So a little leg raise variation that I like to do is actually in the dip bars. So we can lean into it a little bit. Now, you may see other people where they do leg raises, hanging leg raises, and they put the bar behind their back. That's a fine variation because what they're trying to do is they're trying to create that little slight lean forward. But I find when we're in here, we get it naturally. So I said we're getting some bonus arms in as well. We can kill two birds, one stone. Sorry. You're good. We can kill two birds, one stone and get it done. So, and like this variation because honestly, I kind of feel the lower abdominals and the hip flexors working that little bit better than the hanging version. And normally you can squeeze out a few more reps as well. Now, it is body weight. We could get some load, med ball between the legs. We can use kettlebells around the feet, use bands with the kettlebells. We can loop bands underneath and leg raise into the bands. You can balance dumbbells if you want. All those variations are fine, but honestly, at the end of the session, a bit of body weight stuff was never harmful, so that's why we're getting slightly higher repetition ranges. So we have one more set here. One more. So rather than leg raises now, we got a little crunch variation. And I honestly don't see too many people doing this style of crunch. But essentially, if you have these type of cable stacks where you've got the back support, you push the back into the stack and then you just curl down. Nice and easy. Well, not too easy. Because what I see people get wrong when they do the kneeling version, they'll kind of swing their hips back as they crunch down. So it's just a hip flexion, cable pull down, instead of doing an isolated crunch. So we think about sit-ups, crunches, the little differences. A sit-up, we typically allow the spine to come up off the ground or hip flex, whereas a crunch, we'll keep the hip flexion angle constant, lower back crunched into the ground, and we'll more so lift the upper torso, the thoracic spine, and we'll flex the upper region of the back. And so we'll get that crunch type feeling. So that's where this works like that more than a sit-up. So we got another set here, and then we'll do a little bit of bicep to finish off. Alright, little bicep finisher. Finishing us off with some preacher curls. Get some bicep working. Drop set. So take these plates off, throw on 225s, and then we are out of here. All right, session done.
All right, YouTube, just like that, we're done. Fairly quick, effective session for the back there. Some higher volume repetition ranges. So I don't want people going crazy again. Hey, you're doing high volume, Craig, what's going on? I like to switch it up, especially back end of the week. We did carb up yesterday, so the argument could have been, why not do intensity? I could have, sure. But instead I wanted to do some higher volume stuff. I think it's fine to throw that in there from time to time. It's not like the weights were super light by any means. But again, next time we do that type of session, what we can do is then make it more intense, do a slightly higher intensity and load, and do lower volume repetition ranges. That's kind of how programming works, how coaching works. So that's where we're at with the program. Luckily for me, during that gym session, the storm seems to have passed for the most part. It's still a little rainy right now, so I do have to pay a bit more attention to driving. Not that I don't pay attention to driving, if there's anybody watching this that is going to be suspect. But again, I like that type of session format. It works for me. I would encourage you guys who are following along to do that session and see how it feels for you too. So it's a good little back pump, and then we get some core work in and a little bit of accessory arms. And we did throw in the bonus calves. I forgot that I snuck that in there, as we are increasing the amount of calf exposure as the weeks go on. So one of the big things is I want to see how far we can grow those. And so tomorrow, I mentioned it in the session itself, we do have an off day. So I'll be actually officially taking my first measures in terms of, we're going to do some muscle girths, we'll do some skin fold caliper testing at body weight, and then next week, hopefully, if not the week after, we should be getting a DEXA scan. So that's going to give us a bit more of a clearer picture of our body fat percentage and the amount of lean mass that we have on the body, albeit that it does have a little bit of margin of error, but it's going to be a little bit better than my estimations from the skin fold calipers. So with those two things combined, we're going to track how this prep goes. And I'm also going to throw in a few monitoring measures with some different strength assessments. So we did our 1 repetition max testing this week for a few different exercises. We're also going to do some isometric strength measures. So stay peeled for that one, as that will come on Tuesday. So we're treating this like a little mini case study, see how much size we can put on, see how much body fat we can lose, see how much strength we can create, if not maintain, and hopefully not lose during this journey. So super excited, I'm feeling super motivated. Might be because I ate more carbs yesterday, so I have a lot more energy in today's session. So I appreciate you sticking through this video, and if you have got this far, subscribe if you're not already. Tell your friends to subscribe, tell your family to subscribe, tell your dog to subscribe, tell your cat to subscribe. Get everybody subscribing. Let's grow this channel out. Let's make it exciting. Give me more incentive to keep making these videos, because if this grows, then I'll keep on going, and you will ultimately benefit from this. I promise you that. I love teaching people. So that being said, make sure you comment as well. If you have questions, if you want certain content filmed, if this stuff's getting a little boring and monotonous, let me know, because we can definitely switch things up as well. So I appreciate you following along. I appreciate the support. I'm looking forward to it. We're heading into week 18, so the countdown is on. It's getting serious now. All right, YouTube, see you on the next one.